Time to talk about a big Saturday of racing at the fairgrounds. I believe there are 6 stakes races overall, and all stakes pick five to close things out. Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks points up for grabs in some stakes races there. And like always, when you need help handicapping the races, you head to drf.com. You can get free all access past performances with DRF bets when you sign up. Use the promo code STAKES, and every time you wager through DRF bets, you'll get credit for free all access past performances. Every $50 you wager, you will get access to another set of past performances. I've got my good friend Barry the Sniper Spears here joining me. Barry, we like to travel all around wherever the big races are. This will be the first time that we've talked fairgrounds in a little while, as they have a couple big Saturdays coming up over the next few months, the prep races for the Kentucky Derby in particular. And that's where we'll head today to talk about Saturday and races 9 through 13 and the feature, the Lecomte.
Yeah, this is a great card that we're getting on Saturday at Fairgrounds. This time of year is excellent for them. The weather hasn't been all that great, but I think
Everywhere,
Saturday will be
right?
okay, and
All over the place. The
we've
weather
got some
isn't
good
great.
rain action.
Oaklawn canceled racing this weekend. We've seen
Yeah,
places being frozen. Turfway had to cancel some racing. Yeah, the football games, I'm sure a lot of you were watching them. It was -4. There was a wind chill, like a feels like temperature of -27 in that Kansas City Miami game, which was the fourth coldest football game of all time. They had to postpone the Bills Steelers game last week. Fans all over throwing snowballs at each other in the stands and stuff. So it's one of those times where the weather all over is severe. So hopefully you're all safe. If you're able to just chill and hang out and play the races this weekend, I mean, that's always a nice thing to do, right, Barry? Kick back and play. If you don't have to go anywhere, don't.
oh man, that's the best when that does happen. Like, when I used to live up in Massachusetts, that was like the thing, kind of hang out at home and play the races. But you know, I can't really be vocal about how cold it is here in Florida because people laugh at me when I say it was only 50 today.
Yeah, we've caught down into the 30s a few nights out here, which, it'll get to like 38 at night. And that's chilly for me. I'm not used to that, but people don't want to hear any of that with their negative numbers flashing up in front of their temperatures. So, enough weather talk for now. Let's talk about a fun Saturday at the fairgrounds. Barry, race number 9 is where you and I are going to start. That's where their late pick 5 will have all stakes races in a row, and it's now 15% low takeout pick five that's worth taking a shot. And I thought the first race in the pick 5 pretty challenging. In just, you can make cases, I thought, for many. For most, they'll start with the outside runner, Tufani, who's won back-to-back races. But as you can see, her last few races, she's come from well out of it. So sometimes it's hard to trust a horse who's going to have to, or who will sometimes have to come from that far back. Lovely Princess will also get some money down on the inside. She comes off a win in a local prep race last time out. She's very honest. She's got a pretty good body of work over the last 2 years or so. But those are some of the shorter prices and some of the horses who will take a lot of money. Who are some of the horses that are on your radar in here, Barry?
Yeah, this is like you said, a really interesting race because the favorite is going to be out on the outside and seemingly wants to close like from way back, just kind of weird. Um, I can't trust that horse in this race. One horse that at a kind of decent price that caught my eye was Fancy Martini, the 6. I kind of believe that this horse is a little bit better um, than what his speed figures and everything have been saying, basically. Um, it's kind of a situation where this horse is going to get a good trip, seems to like it at the fairgrounds, has a win already on that turf. I know the turf has gone through some changes, but still the surroundings of the fairgrounds, it seems like that horse likes it there. Um, those two things combined, because there's quite a lot of speed in here. I think this kind of sets up for a horse like this to step up. The only other horse that kind of caught my attention was the one, Lovely Princess, who will probably be second choice. So that's not too bad.
I preferred her too of the shorter prices. Yeah,
Um,
I thought so.
And then
I
everybody
thought.
else went.
Oh, sorry. I think we were talking over each other there for a second. But yeah, of the shorter prices, I liked Lovely Princess a little bit more here, Barry. You can just see, just from a speed figure standpoint too, she's been really, really solid, really consistent for her last 6-7 races. I think she'll save all the ground. I think she will come running. The horse that I think, the horse I'm going to mention at a price is the number 8, and that's Join the Dance. So what intrigues me about this particular runner in here, Join the Dance most recently came off a barn change and a little bit of a layoff. And look at the complete change in tactics that we got, which is not really surprising. It's funny when you think about Dallas Stewart and you think about Joel Rosario, you would think about horses coming from off the pace, right? That's for me, but that trainer and that jockey, I would always think of horses wanting to close. And that's what they did with Join the Dance. They got this mare who's never really been one that wanted to come from off the pace to actually close in that race. And while she was behind Lovely Princess and Creative Cairo, she didn't really get the race shape in there. She was wide early. She was back to 7th. She was well off, and she had to move all the way around the top 4 early finish, like 4th, 5th, 7th, and 6th. So it's set up for horses coming off the pace like that. What I really like, though, is that I don't think she wants to or even needs to be that far back. I'd love to see somewhere in between what we saw throughout the bulk of her career and then last time. Maybe just not right on the lead. Now we know she can pass horses if that's the plan, especially with the new barn and maybe a new jockey who's able to get horses to relax a little more. Can she sit, 3rd or 4th in here, Barry, and not just be as far back and maybe be middle of the pack or get the jump on some of the deep closers? Because I think she might have a little versatility to her now.
Yeah, you might be right. But there's a couple of things that gives me a lot of pause on this. I think, and this is gonna sound like typical horse player stuff, but Joel Rosario has not been putting horses remotely into races at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to do that here either. I think him in the 8 and 9, Join the Dance and Terfani will probably be trailing the field. I wish it wasn't that way, because Join the Dance would be a horse that I would like a lot better if I knew that he was going to, or she was going to get a rider that would at least moderately put her into the race, like like a Luis Saez, how he rides. I would enjoy that a little bit more. The other thing is about the one is I think they may have put a rabbit in here, an Unbridled Mary, to kind of force the issue, and that
Make
would be
sure
a
she
good
gets the
thing.
setup.
Yes, and that's why I kind of like that horse a little bit more. But obviously we're gonna have some price limitations on that one. But man, this is definitely a tough race to start off a pick 5 sequence.
Yeah, you mentioned Fancy Martini, who would be in the mix for me of pick 5 horses. We talked about the 9, who's going to be coming from way out of it. We talked good enough about Lovely Princess. Others just worth mentioning, because I'm sure some people will have them on tickets here. Creative Cairo was behind Lovely Princess, has been beaten by Tufani, was actually favored over Tufani. And then Lovely Princess in the race on December the 23rd, she did get a really nice, perfect trip up the inside. And Creative Cairo almost came and got her after having to go wide in there. So I was impressed with the fact that she almost ran her down, but I do still like Lovely Princess a little bit more, just overall with her body of work. And Anatolian is another sharp one who's just been sharp as of late. in races that were taken off the turf. But this horse does have turf form as well. Might just be a better horse now because she's really strung races together. And this has been the best stretch of racing in her career now. So I think she is just an improving mare. That's what does make this race challenging. We can knock all those horses I mentioned, but none of them would really be that huge of a shock in here. And they're going to be decent prices. They'll need to get their types of trips.
Yeah, I think there's only like one horse in here, the two that I would be surprised if that horse won.
Yeah.
Everybody else has a great shot. Creative Cairo, that horse probably needed the cutback. I think this horse is better at this distance than going longer.
Yep.
And again, that one might kind of fly under the radar and the price go up, I think.
So there's a look at race number 9, which kicks off this late pick 5 at Fairgrounds on Saturday, January the 20th. Let's move to the Silver Bullet Day. Barry, we have 3-year-old fillies, and this is another one of those races that's on the series that we're going to see fillies take their step forward from this race to a couple more races throughout the meet at Fairgrounds to try to get them ready for the Kentucky Oaks. So I don't think I saw that there were any horses that were scratches. We have a couple coming in later races that I will mention. Talk to us about the Silver Bullet Day going to mile 70 for 3-year-old fillies. Who are some of the horses that stood out to you here that you would need to use in your pick 5s?
Yeah, the race definitely is going to go through West Omaha. Kind of a standout here, I think, personally. Has the right running style, can be on the lead, can sit off based on the last one, gets a good rider switch into Louis Saez, who's going to put this horse in. I thought the 1 Perfect Shot and the 8 Sistina Chap were a little bit fraudulent here. I can't trust either of those horses in this race. I mean, Perfect Shot is coming off a maiden win. Has the pedigree and everything to be great, in general. But it's hard to take a horse jumping into this kind of company off of a maiden win. If that horse wins, definitely is the goods. Not to mention, again, I hate doing this, but it's just the elephant in the room with Joel Rosario. He's not been putting horses into races, and they've been sitting dead last, coming hard, and just coming
This
up
will be
short.
a really good test
I
day
don't
for
think
him,
that
right?
trend's
On
gonna stop.
Saturday, because some of these horses feel like
Yeah.
they got to be closer. And if we really see them not, then that's like something huge moving forward to keep an eye on, because
And he's
these
capable,
horses,
obviously. He's done it.
absolutely,
Like when he
he's
was
in
out in
Southern
Santa Anita.
California. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Because I agree with you that the 6 is the horse to beat. I'm a little warmer on the 1 Perfect Shot. I'll talk just a little bit about some of the things that I'm okay with Perfect Shot, and then mention 1 price horse that I like in here too. So I do agree with you. Stepping up sometimes from maidens to a stakes race like this can be a little difficult. But I looked at the races that she came out of in her debut. She lost to a horse named Jin Jin, who we actually just saw come back and win the Busanda last week. So Jin Jin is actually a stakes place now, stakes winner, and pretty solid 3-year-old filly. So just kind of using her as a measuring stick, I thought she lost to decent company in her debut and then stretched out. And you can see the progression that she's shown in her 3 races since getting a little bit more distance. I think she mainly wanted to be more of a mile, a 2-turn type horse. And in her second start, she was on the sloppy racetrack. She finished second behind a horse who basically went gate to wire, who was able to sit in front of her and got the early jump. And then she came back in her third start. She sat pretty nicely. She was way out wide, and then she moved right into the second spot. The horse that she beat came back and won. So I just like her progression. I think she could be in a pretty good spot, sitting third or fourth. And I'm looking at some of the horses that she's faced, and they are stakes types horses. So I give her a shot. But the horse that I really wanted to mention that I'm kind of intrigued by as a wild card is Ma Rae's Girl, the 5. I just really
I hope it's the same one. Oh, I thought it was the same one I was gonna go for.
Okay. I'll go Ma Rae, and then you go next with your sort of price horse in here that you were looking at. I thought her win at Turfway last time out, she showed speed because she was down inside in a big field. I don't think she needs the lead. And she's been quick, but in her debut, I'm hoping she can do something a little more like that. She won one of those really high level claiming races at Keeneland. That's basically like a maiden special weight race. She sat a really nice trip. Then after that, she came back and they threw her in a stakes race, just a little quick at Churchill. And following that, she goes over to Turfway. She stretches out. It's a good spot to stretch out. And I've mentioned this. The racing at Turfway this year, last year in particular, is so much better than it was 5 years ago. And I think the quality of horses they showed last year when they came out of those races and they went other places, they perform really well. And what also happens, the speed figures for those races and just synthetic races in general, watching Woodbine, watching Turfway, they're usually a little bit light just compared to the dirt races. Sometimes those races just aren't as fast on synthetic tracks, so you won't get quite as fast of speed figures. And I think a lot of times these horses can be undervalued because of that, because people won't see the overwhelming speed figures there. I think she's kind of interesting here, Barry. So I'm going to throw her into my pick 5 too, Ma Ray's Girl. But you tell us about the price that you were looking at in here.
Yeah, I was looking at number 7, No Risk It, No Biscuit.
Great name.
I think this horse is making yeah, it's a hell of a name. Um, I just think that this horse has some upside here. I mean, you see how she broke her maiden on October 25th at Keeneland, stretching out for the first or the second time. But if you go back in her early in her career at Saratoga, she lost to Ways and Means, who was razor sharp at the time, was like all world horse. Alpine Princess is no slouch either. Then
Yeah.
kind of got away from those types and ended up improving. Then I think they went to Delta to get some stakes experience, and she didn't run all that bad. Um, in a 9-horse field, finished third, 7 lengths back by a runoff winner, the Tappet horse. So I think there's some upside here. I don't really particularly think this horse will win, but I do think this horse is going to show up in the picture at a price.
And we talked about Alpine Princess. That was the horse who defeated West Omaha last time out. So just playing that same common rival game. That's a very nice horse. Alpine Princess, who we saw show up in the past performances for a couple of the fillies in the Silver Bullet Day. Yeah, intriguing because we both feel like West Omaha is the one they'll have to beat, but we have each a price horse. It's worth mentioning the very honest horse who I don't really have any knocks on. She's done nothing wrong in here. I'm just a little bit worried that she might, if the field does stay intact, she could get caught up in a battle. I sort of want to make her prove it a little bit to me. She's shown that she can sit off a little bit, but Miss Code West in here, she's deserving of stepping up and taking a shot here after she beat Oklahoma Breds for her first few starts. Then she stepped up against Open Company, but that race was on a muddy track, so sometimes it's hard to tell if it'll really translate. But I understand why they take a swing here, and she deserves to be in here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was kind of shocked at the 9-2 morning line when I saw that come out. She's a little bit light on speed figures. She's probably a lot better than her numbers say, but I don't know if this is the right spot for her, just because of the way the race kind of came up with the entries, and then the last race in the mud was kind of a perfect trip win. So that one's kind of I'm not really too sure. I guess I got to take a look at her, physically and see what we get. But I was thinking that she might drift up in odds a little bit.
The Kentucky Oaks points are up for grabs here. 20, 10, 6, 4, 2. Top 5 finishers get Kentucky Oaks points in the Silver Bullet Day. That's race 10 on Saturday at the fairgrounds. Barry, as we turn the page to race number 11, talk to us about everything going on with going in circles with Big Mondays and where the folks can hear a little bit more from you.
Yeah, we're plugging away Our big Monday shows, we're going to have more guests on this year. I think I've mentioned that before. We got our website, Raising Hub, that I think is posting an article either today or tomorrow if he already hasn't. Um, and just being around. I'm going to try to get out and about this year. Try to get up to Saratoga, try to get over to Gulfstream, possibly for the Pegasus, and then over to Tampa. So yeah, man, just ready to do it now that I've got some of my health issues behind me. I'm ready to roll, man.
Feeling good, sounding good, and always looking good. That's Barry Spears as we get ready for the Colonel E.R. Bradley. So this is a $100,000 stakes race on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. And I think I was reading through an article from Marcus Hirsch. He was basically suggesting that with Brigadier General, if the race is off the turf, he probably won't run. He's cross-entered in a race at Oaklawn Park. Now, they're not running at Oaklawn this weekend, but he seemed like he was in here for it to be off turf. Maybe they do stay in and he tries turf for the first time, but that it's worth mentioning because if he's not in the race come Saturday, that does make things much easier for the horse right next door to him, Strong Quality. If you want to beat Strong Quality, you're hoping the horse like Brigadier General is in this race because that will make life a lot harder on him. Oh, I think you were muted there.
Yeah. This is actually the horse that I like in this race. Funny enough, is probably the horse I like the best in the sequence. I know there's a lot going on, with Strong Quality, Brigadier General. It seems like the pace might get a little hot. Even Rising Empire has some speed. Beatbox probably want to be forwardly placed, so I guess I should take that back. It's not going to get hot. It's going to be above average. And that left me with two horses. The one that I like more than the other is Protonic Power. I think that last race in the Sam Dilberto Memorial, I think it's Sam. I'm just saying that off my head, but it's the Dilberto Memorial race. Got stopped mid-stretch at a big price. The horse was making a gigantic move. If you see that replay. Ah, there it is, Buddy Dilberto.
Swansonite,
but
Samsonite.
I think this horse is same thing.
Yeah.
But I think Protonic Power has some punch in the stretch, and Pedrosa's probably going to get him in a similar spot than what he did on that day on December 23rd. And I don't think it's a huge leap for this horse to improve slightly and win this race at a decent price. And the other horse that kind of caught attention is Rising Empire, the 8. This horse arguably, or not arguably, his best races have come on the fairgrounds turf. And his back class and his, kind of versatility screams that this horse is going to get a good trip. With Luis Saez, he's going to get this horse in the right spot. If it's too fast, he's going to lay off. If it's not fast enough, he's going to put this horse in the race. At 5-1, which I thought was a little far-fetched, I thought this horse would probably be more 9-2, 4-1-ish. Definitely worth taking a second look at.
So that's my play, Rising Empire. I thought that last effort is one that you could just put a line right through. So he got bumped at the start. He was 4 wide going into the turn and just wide all the way around. And he moved all the way up, but he just tired and he was chasing a lone speed winner that day. Now he's going to go third start off the bench. Saez is aboard, but this horse does not need the lead. He can sit third, fourth in here, get the jump on some of these deeper closers. I like him in this spot, Barry. I'm glad you mentioned him too. He's the horse who I've picked on top. And I think he and one more horse that I wanted to mention will be in the mix for me. The 5 English Tavern. He was third in that race, and he could just get a nice trip too if he just sits like he did last time. A couple of his more recent races, he's been showing more tactical speed, which I like. So he's going to be in the mix for me in some of the pick fives as well. And yeah, I guess it'll all come down to what this pace plays out. You mentioned the one I'm playing him too. Protonic Power. Those are all horses that come out of a race where they were just chasing lone speed. They didn't get an opportunity that day to get any pace to chase. And we're just hoping that the same thing doesn't happen in here.
That's it. Yeah, because two Emmys kind of ran off, and man, the one got into some serious trouble in that race. I still don't understand why that horse was 42-1 that day, but hey, if we get that on Saturday, it's a go time.
And sad news about two Emmys who had a career-ending injury most recently, just after that really nice performance there, and you can see was still in fantastic form. So very sad news there as we finish up talking about race number 11 from Fairgrounds on Saturday. Moving into race number 12, Barry. So this one will have some of these older horses and some familiar names in the grade 3, Louisiana. Believe the 7 Capuna is going to be scratched. So that will make this now a field of 6. And there will be a couple horses that look to take a lot of money in here. Smile Happy, it's 9-5 on the morning line, but he hasn't raced since July. Saudi Crown is 8-5 on the morning line. He hasn't raced since November, and he's probably using this as a prep because he has bigger plans all throughout the year. And then you have 5-Star General, who's pretty quick. He wants to go, and I don't know how much Saudi Crown really wants to sit. So it seems like you've got two horses coming off layoffs at really short prices, and you also have a murky pace scenario for Saudi Crown, who wants to be really close. How'd you see this race playing out?
Yeah, it's an interesting race because of Saudi Crown, and I'm skeptical that this horse wants a fight. And I know you see all those ones in the past performances, but you also see that the horse was usually clear a length or so in doing most of those, winning a lot of those races. Like the first two, the maiden just clearly better than those. Same thing with that allowance race. But then when you step up into grade 2, grade 3, grade 1 company, kind of got easy leads. And if 5-Star General wants to go and challenge that horse, it's probably the best thing they could do. I don't think Saudi Crown is going to be around. And I really think Smile Happy is a standout here. We'll just get the perfect trip. And in fact, probably get a similar kind of buyer number if this horse wins, because there's no way that this horse can't get a good trip here. I mean, he's just going to be in the second flight almost by himself. And, everybody else is kind of looking for scraps after that.
What you were pointing out, I think, is what makes this race difficult to handicap, and just who the trips of the horses, because I don't like Saudi Crown in this spot. I think with Saudi Crown and with 5-Star General, I'm going to play against those two speed horses. Now, I want to kind of play against Smile Happy, but of the shorter prices, you're absolutely right. He no doubt will be the horse that gets the trip in here. He's shown that he can run off a layoff too. This isn't the longest layoff in the world. Maybe he needs a race for his next best effort, but he really should get a good trip. It's just difficult because the other horses are really deeper closers. You have Red Route 1, who this just feels too short for him. If this was a mile and an eighth or a little farther, I might give him a look. Happy American, I'm going to use because he is actually run really well at this trip. And there might be versions of this race where he comes closing and he's got a couple of the races off the bench to shake some of the rust off. I thought his last race was actually pretty good, kind of a wake-up call where he was chasing 5-star General. He'll get a little more pace to chase today in here. So I'm going to use him along with the 2, Smile Happy, who you mentioned. And then I'm going to throw in one complete wild card. Confidence Game. We haven't seen him show much since the Derby. But he actually could get the trip we're talking about, Barry. If they don't go with him, but if he just uses some of his natural speed, he might be sitting third and maybe in front of Smile Happy, in front of some of these deep closers at a massive price. I know he has a race good enough in there that's competitive with this. Huge price in this field. His race last time out, it was a really weird race. He got shuffled back to last and he came on again. I just feel like they're going to be more aggressive with him and have him more in the race. I just hope it's not battling with the other 2. Can he be sitting third? I'm gonna try to throw him in some tickets, but my agreement with you, and I think in a lot of these races, at least of the horses to beat, I much prefer Smile Happy to Saudi Crown, just based on the way this race could shape up.
Yeah. A lot of this kind of goes through Saudi Crown. If Saudi Crown is allowed to shake loose, this race is going to be over very, very quickly.
Yeah.
If not, Smile Happy, in my opinion, is going to get the run of the race. He's a better closer, and he's proven, more at a higher level based on his, the company that he kept. Yeah, this could go different ways. I think Happy American is one that I will use. Another one with his best races coming at the fairgrounds, and and, and kind of rounding into form. That last race, he kind of perked up a little bit, got into a bit more of that on Saturday.
Yep. There's a look at race number 12 at the fairgrounds on Saturday. It is the Grade 3 Louisiana. Let's turn the page to the 13th and final on Saturday. It's the Grade 3 Lecomte. It does look like we will have a couple scratches in here. Trainer Brad Cox will run Nash and Ethan Energy, but Awesome Road will be scratched. So the 8 likely out of this one, Barry. Trainer Keith DeSormo will scratch Next Level. So the 1 also out. The 3 Tizzy Indy is possible. So a couple of the bigger prices on the morning line. We may only end up having a field of 5. The major players are all in here. And the top 2 to start with are Nash and Track Phantom. They were 1-2 in the Gun Runner just a few weeks ago right here at Fairgrounds. And in that race, Track Phantom actually got in front of Nash. Nash had a big win going gate to wire at Churchill Downs, where he earned a huge buyer speed figure. And in just reading the article from Marcus Hirsch, it feels like they are going to make sure that Nash is much closer early on today too, Barry. And I think that makes this race very interesting when you have the top 2 who are going to be a lot shorter than the rest of the field.
Better.
Right? And they both are going to be going after each other, I feel like. I don't think either one of them is going to let the other go early.
I'm with you on that, but I also think that Nash is much faster than everybody in this race. And I think he's going to be, a lone speed type, especially with Next Level out. Not that horse was really going to challenge Nash, but it was just another horse in the race that he had. But I really, I really think they figured out that they did this horse a disservice by not kind of being aggressive in the Gun Runner. Beyond that, I'm not really too enamored with Track Phantom, even though he beat Nash last time.
Yeah, I prefer Nash to Track Phantom also. much. And what
They go
concerns
when they force the issue.
And what concerns me is if they try to force it too much. If they overcompensate because last time they weren't able to get out there, then they go a little too fast early or do have a little other pressure. If that were the case, I actually think, if it were a bigger field, I would want and maybe one other pace horse to pressure it. But I do think like all the 4, 5, and 6 would be interesting horses if the race shaped up a little better. The one I like the most would be the 5, Ethan Energy. His race was really good. His win was very good. He was in the clear. He just was 4 wide. He made a big sweeping move to the lead, and he drew off. And it was his first start going long. And Brad Cox puts him in here along with Nash. So he has to feel like this horse won't be completely disgraced, and likes the fact that if Nash does get maybe softened up on the front end, Ethan Energy could come closing. Yeah, like I liked him the best of the others. I like him more than Track Phantom, to be honest. I'm with you. I don't really like Track Phantom in here. I'm going to try to beat him. But I'm looking at, it's just hard because I don't think you can play them here. I'm going to play Can Group in his next start if he runs well in this race, because I don't think he's just a turf horse. If his first 2 races, he ran into Timberlake and West Saratoga in his second start, and he ran into a sloppy track in his debut. And following that, maybe he's just gotten a little bit better as the distances have gotten a little bit longer. I'm not ready to just say he's not a dirt horse. Actually, he's a half to a horse named Flat Out Speed, who was a grade 3 winner, who was 8 for 9, 2 multiple winners on the dirt. I like these horses. It's just probably a tough spot with the way it's going to shape up. I'm not, I don't know if it's going to be head and head Phantom and Nash, because Track Phantom would probably be okay just sitting right off of Nash if Nash tries to go.
Yeah, the thing about Can Group is that's a horse that normally I would kind of like in this sort of situation. But the 2 things that are kind of up against it with Can Group is A, the field is small. B, usually with horses that are doing this, like where there's real question marks about their dirt ability, I'd want to get a bigger price. And
Yeah,
it's
and
not
and
going to
just a bigger
happen
field,
just
right?
based
Because you
off
know that,
how many
yeah,
horses
and
are in the field. Right.
yeah, and that's also key. And even overall, I like what we've seen from Lat Long. I think there's been progression from this horse. This horse has a nice body
That's
of
the
work.
horse I like.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with what this horse has done overall. So while it is now probably going to be a pretty small field, these horses behind the top 2 on the morning line, they're not bad. These next tier of horses, they just, I don't know if they're going to get the shape in this race, but this horse finally put it all together. I think it was a
No,
situation.
I think this field is very strong.
Me too. Yeah. And that December 17th race, it just felt like a situation where, hey, we're going to be favored in this race. Let's just get a little close. Let's make an early move to the lead. Let's not worry about getting caught behind horses or any traffic. He's been behind Track Phantom and Dornich and horses like that who are faster than him early. He's always going to have a tough time with if they're just a little bit faster than him. And again, it'll come down to trip for him, but he's got some ability. He really does.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think all these horses do, and that's why I say this field is pretty strong despite what it looks like on paper. I mean, obviously you got rid of Next Level. Everybody else, even Tizzy Indy, isn't disgraceful in this.
No, and
That horse can improve and probably hit the board if think out the right way. But the top 4 horses in this race are all pretty, evenly talent wise. So it's just a matter of what kind of trip each one gets.
a horse like Lat Long we were talking about, what's nice, you have 4 route races of foundation there too. At this point of the year, not many horses have that many races going longer. You see a couple of the horses have 2 and 3 going longer there. So I thought a fun renewal of the Lecomte, but just one thing
Really good
that
point.
I'm going to mention, um, Barry, and we have to mention in any tracks that we're looking at this weekend, I have to say, even Santa Anita, there was a little rain on Wednesday night heading into Thursday, and there's supposed to be some this weekend. So
Oh, no.
whatever tracks that you're playing this weekend, just pay attention to the weather and make sure, try not to put stuff in really early if you can, because there might be stuff getting canceled. There might be stuff with weather coming in. It's bad all over the place, but just stay tuned and keep an eye on that, because this should be a fun card. These are some fun stakes races. And I always like checking in at fairgrounds a few times throughout the year, at least, because all of these races usually have at least 1 or 2 vulnerable favorites. And I think we have that in this sequence again, a couple races where we can take swings against the short prices.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're playing hero ball here. We want to get the value and get the money and get out. The 3 Gs. And 4 if you count
As
Gino.
there we go. There we go. Before we say goodbye to all of you, I'm sure some of you who are watching this like to play in the tournaments and some of the contests. There's a big one coming up on Pegasus Day. Barry mentioned he might be heading to Gulfstream Park that day. It's a massive contest for Pegasus World Cup, the betting championship. And there are some feeders this week and next week to try to get you qualified so you can win a seat. There's an $80 contest you could play on ExpressBet. I'll post some of the more information about it if you follow me on social media. You can qualify for a Saturday game. That's $1,000 game, but you can actually qualify just for the $80 if you play in one of these feeders, and then you can win your way into the big game, which is a $6,000 entry and a massive day. Just huge prizes. Going to be a star-studded card top to bottom, and that's just a week and a few days away. So for anyone who's a contest player, I know you were a big tournament and contest player before. I saw a big full page write-up of you in the DRF one time about the contests and the tournaments.
Oh yeah, yeah. I used to get after it. That I did that for a few years. In fact, I was the first person to win a money contest on horse tourneys. So they weren't offering money tournaments for a long time. It was just kind of feeders. And then when they started, offering money, I played and I won. But yeah, I'm gonna try to actually qualify for the BCBC this year. Um,
Nice.
I think that's one of the better tournaments out there. So we'll see. But yeah, those contests are so great because it keeps you in action. There's a lot of layers to the game as far as strategy, playing against other players, horses you pick, horses you don't pick. So yeah, it's definitely a fun time and definitely test your
And
horse analysis or your acumen with betting the horses.
And if you have any questions about some of these, if you just heard me talking and you don't really know specifically, ask. I'll let you know. I'm going to be helping promote some of these contests with my friends over at Santa Anita for the next little bit, because I know a lot of our people watching these videos and listening would probably be very interested in playing in these. And the feeders coming up, they're the really simple format: $3 win place bets on one horse in 5 different races at Gulfstream. Boom, really
Very,
simple.
very,
You know,
very simple.
and those are the ones I like the most, because everyone's in the same sort of spot. Where I get myself in a little bit of trouble are in the bigger contests, because I'm not as much of a trifecta, superfecta player. That's where other people, I think, usually have a major advantage of me in those bigger ones. But in the just picking the horses each race to win, the $2 win place stuff, or, like this format, $3 win place, those are the ones where I think it evens the playing field completely.
Absolutely, and that's really what it's all about. Is it's you got to outplay everybody else, and you zig where they zag, and it's tough. It's definitely a a really mental thing, and you got to stay in the game the whole time. It's tough, but when you win, it's worth it.
We'll be telling you all about that over the next few months. Big contests, big tournaments on the way. That Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship is on January the 27th. See if you can qualify in the next week and a half or so. Barry, like always, anyone playing in those tournaments, in those contests, you got to get to drf.com. I'm sure you're using those PPs and the Clocker reports and the DRF picks to help making your decisions. Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, Clocker reports for Santa Anita, for Gulfstream Park. They have shops for all of the big tracks, all of the big racing. And if you need those past performances, remember, you can get them free with DRF bets. Barry, my friend, always a pleasure chatting with you. It was fun to talk some fairgrounds. And then next week, we will have a huge card to talk about with Pegasus World Cup. And I'm pretty sure they're getting those races out early. So maybe we can even record a little earlier in the week. I think they'll be out like Sunday or Monday.
Okay, well, I'm down for it, man. I'm ready. This is the best time of year for me, just being in Florida because all the good horses are down here. Tampa's heating up with their stakes action. Now Gulfstream's going to do it. So, yeah, it's always a good time to be a horse player in the winter in Florida.
Thanks again for hanging out with us, folks. Good luck to everyone playing the races at Fairgrounds this weekend. If you ever have any questions about the races, about DRF, about these contests, if you ever want to chat with me or Barry, we'd love to hit it up with you on social media. Give me a follow. It's me, Gino B, on Twitter. Give Barry a follow at Urban Handicapper, URBN Handicapper there. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, folks. Have a beautiful weekend. Let's hear that call to post, the rock version from my buddy Joey Cleveland.